Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Terrence Crawford has the hit list, and he's out here executing people. Next up on the list is Errol Spence. Looks like the fight's going to happen. I'm not sure what's going on with Floyd Mayweather. I'm not sure what the hell's going on with who Terrence Crawford is signed to. I'm not sure what all the drama's about. But it makes you wonder, right? You got credible sources saying that these guys are in the final stages of negotiation. That means putting pen to paper. And Floyd Mayweather, I've said it before. I'm the A side. Mr. Money Man, right? He comes out and talking about there's no deal. It's not signed. Why is Floyd even talking? Now, I don't know this. I'm about to make a statement. So don't rake me across the coals. I have a feeling Floyd is talking on behalf of Terrence Crawford. And I have a feeling, right? Terrence Crawford has caught up now in an entanglement with Al Haymon and Floyd Mayweather. Errol Spence doesn't say anything. Errol Spence knows how to remain reticent on close issues, things he needs to keep close to himself. Errol Spence isn't going to go out there and spill the frijoles negros. He's not spilling beans, okay? You can't get anything out of Errol Spence. Sometimes I feel you got to check his pulse. He looks so relaxed. But what is Mayweather's role in this? You know, it just doesn't make sense. Some people are saying, oh, well, Floyd Mayweather is just craving attention. He can't stand to see anybody else make money. I'm not sure that's the case. I think Floyd has somewhat got his hands mixed up in this big fight. And that's why he's chirping up. Because if he wasn't involved, he would have no reason to talk about it. Same thing, Floyd Mayweather and Leonard Ellaby and Al Haymon, they shoot cease and desist letters over there via their lawyers to Eddie Hearn when he's just talking about Tank Davis. Like, they don't even want him to talk about Tank Davis or even suggest the fact that he's in talks with Tank Davis, right? They get lawyers involved, and Eddie Hearn has changed his tune, didn't he? So that being said, they're very aware of what you can and can't say about a fighter who's signed to another promoter. But when you come out and you get vocal about them, probably because there's something going on behind the scenes that we're not privy to, where there seems to be some kind of relationship there, business relationship, contractual agreement. Got to be something going on. Now, this is the thing. Somebody was talking about the Muhammad Ali Act. Well, we all know that Al Haymon is skirting the system because he wears the title advisor when he's really managing and promoting fighters. Floyd Mayweather is learned where he can skirt the system too and manage and promote fighters. Whether you're working through Al Haymon, you're working through Floyd, you're working through Leonard Ellaby, these guys found a loophole. They found a great area. They're exploiting it, and it's okay. This doesn't matter if we think it's right or wrong, right? Anyone out there spinning their wheels on that, you have too much time on your hands. I said this in another video. I'm going to say it again. Donald Trump. Don't matter if you like Donald Trump or not. When him and Hillary were debating, and she was like, oh, and Donald Trump, show us your tax records. He hasn't paid taxes on the billions he's made in the last couple of years, and blah, blah, blah. And he was like, yeah, thanks to you, I don't have to pay taxes. You wrote the laws, didn't you? And he's like, and she said something else, and he was like, well, you should know you wrote the laws. Thank you. He's just doing what she allowed based on the laws that she wrote. So he's exploiting that, Donald Trump, by not having to pay taxes because she wrote some crap that the guys, the wealthiest of the wealthy benefit. So when it comes to this Muhammad Ali Act, if there's a gray area, if there's a loophole, if you can exploit it and do it legally based on the explicit instructions or the explicit law, the explicit regulation, the explicit act, it's not their fault. They're smart for call themselves advisors. So I think there's got to be some relationship between those guys. But getting back on subject, the hit list. Terrence Crawford and Spence. This is really probably one of the most 50-50 fights in years. In years, man. I mean, like, with Wilder and AJ, it never happened, but it was kind of hard to, at the time, to see Wilder outboxing AJ. But you knew he had a puncher's chance. But you still had to look at skill set, IQ, and favor AJ. Look at Wilder and Fury. I felt that could go either way. I like Wilder's power. But when you start putting it on paper, IQ, ring generalship, skill set, amateur pedigree, everything. On paper, it's impossible to make that a 50-50 fight. But when you look at Wilder's power and what he brought to the table, it's like, well, can't just rule him out. That's God-given power right there. But when you look at Earl Spence, well, even, Earl Spence and Crawford, IQ, there, power, there, counterpunching ability, there, ring generalship, there, amateur pedigree, there, overall conditioning, there. When you look at that, it's like, man, it's hard to really go with one fighter over the other. It's almost best to sit back and remain neutral, but we're not going to do that. But if let's say Terrence Crawford comes out here, boom, and he gets Spence out of there, right? Terrence Crawford said what's next for him is Jermell Charlo. Now, some of you guys would say, oh, there's weight classes for a reason. And I would say to that, well, I guess nobody has ever ascended weight classes and won championships in multiple weight divisions. So kill the noise with the weight division for a reason. Now, I will give you credit for this. You gotta pick the right fighter when you go up in weight. Unless you're a special fighter, like Pacquiao, Floyd, De La Hoya, some of the guys, you guys all know who they are. That's just a whole nother level of, I wouldn't even call that talent. Like, they're just in a category of their own. They just call them special, right? Those guys can go up and probably do anything they want. You know what I'm saying? But when it comes to Crawford, look at, he had no fat on him. You telling me Crawford couldn't go up to 168? Maybe he'll be at a height disadvantage. But look, there's no fat on that man. Crawford could easily fight at 154, 160. Okay? So listen to that like Crawford, like Errol Spence says, is too light in the ass. Nah. Him getting down to 140, man was killing himself. Danny Garcia is killing himself. When these fighters are fighting at 140, they have to get out of there. 147, they're still killing themselves. Look at Adrian Broner. Yeah, he's a little bit smaller, but even for him to make 147 is hard. 140 is damn near impossible. The 130, 135 pound there's no more. So Terrence Crawford can easily go up and fight at 154 and 160. Now, would he beat Jermell? I'd give Terrence Crawford a pretty good damn chance. I would. But Bud Crawford has a hit list. Who knows if he's going to get to Jermell? Jermell may be going up to 160 himself. But Bud Crawford and Earl Spence, I just think that's a close fight, man. And I'm going to remain consistent with what I've been saying. I'm going to just tell you, it could go either way, right? But I'm going to side with Crawford because of the volume of punches that Spence throws. Now, if he does something different, and then, I'll come back to the videos I've been talking about, and I'll say, hey, like I said, and I'm not going to get into it. I already said it. When you let your hands go, you leave openings. And Crawford is a master at exploiting your openings and countering. Earl Spence can do it, but we haven't really seen him do it that much because he just overwhelms his opponents with the sheer volume of punches that he throws. And Spence isn't just throwing, basic 1, 2, double jab, double right hand, hook. No, he's letting You're going upstairs, downstairs. He's throwing the right hand. He's throwing a hook. He's using his elbows to pin you on the ropes. Rip to the body. Step around. Go back. Step back twice. Jab, jab, come in. Feint the jab. Throw the right hand. Half right hand, come back with it. Earl Spence does stuff that's, you're watching that and you're like, in order for someone to execute that in the ring, they have to train that way. And that's how he trains. And guys who've watched him train said, same thing they seen him do on the bag, they seen him do on mitts, they seen him do on sparring, that's what he does in the ring. So he trains that way. And the way you train is the way you're going to perform in any sports. And even if you're a blue-collar worker, white-collar worker, if you train a kind of way, that's how you're going to perform. And it is what it is. It's all about putting the work in before you have to go out there and perform. And with Bud Crawford and Earl Spence, it's just one of those things, man. And I wouldn't be surprised if, for this fight, Bud Crawford and Earl Spence brought somebody from the outside onto their team. I wouldn't be surprised. Because Derek James and Jamel brought Guzman on, and I think that helped Jamel a great deal in his rematch with Castaño, because Guzman fought like Castaño did, and he knew what it would take to beat a fighter like that, or make it. I'm not gonna say to easily beat him, but to give yourself a better chance of clipping and knocking the fighter out. Now, will Earl Spence and Derek James do that for Crawford? Will Crawford and Bomac do that for Earl Spence? I think this is where you set your pride aside and say, look, we have the best intention to our fighter. We want to give ourselves the best chance possible. Set your pride aside. Give up that little 2% of whatever the trainer gets and give it to the guy who's coming in to help out. And let's do what's best to win. You've seen Devin Haney's dad do that with Ben Davison. Ben Davison, what he did with Tyson Fury in that first fight was amazing, the way he boxed Deontay Wilder. But then after that, whatever, Tyson Fury decided to do something different, and Bill Haney picked Davison up. They recognized what he brought to the table. So it's when you're thinking about the team and you're looking at it collectively. You want to give yourself the best chance on winning. Sometimes you got to bring someone else in to maybe help in certain areas of things that maybe you just aren't recognized because you're not recognized because maybe you develop tunnel vision, right? That's why sometimes in business they have an auditor come in. They have an inspection team come in because they're going to see things that maybe you aren't recognizing. It doesn't mean that you're not familiar with those areas. It's just not recognizing it. And once they bring that to your attention, like, shit, you're right. And they make the correction in much better shape. And I think for Spence and Crawford, that's what they're going to need to do. Bring somebody from the outside in to give them a different look and just to strengthen the team. Not to undo what's been done, but just to enhance things, make things better. And if it's just one area that needs some tweaking and that could potentially benefit them in the fight, then it was worth it. But I'm going to go ahead and leave you guys with that. I'm going to go watch some more boxing, man. They're getting busy over there in Australia right now, aren't they? But Terrence Crawford, that's the hit list, man. It's going to be tough trying to clip Spence, but I think he'll get Spence, and I think he'll catch him with a counter. And but it could go either way, but I'm going to leave it at that. That being said, y'all keep cool. Stay safe. Appreciate the support. Please like and subscribe. Please subscribe. I appreciate it. And keep cool, and I'm in the breeze.